Hi, today from Buenos Aires in Argentina. Today we'll be talking about how states destroy economy by regulating it, by state intervention, and by social services, by distributing wealth, and what to do in order to heal the economy again. See you after a short break. Hi again from Buenos Aires. Here I am in the barrio of Recoleta, in the Recoleta quarter of Buenos Aires, and behind me you can see the famous Recoleta Cemetery. All the people, all the big names, who is who of Argentinian culture, politics and sports, generally of Argentinian public life in the last 150 years is buried here. And the largest tomb belongs to Avita Peron. The famous Evita, you may have seen the film, the musical, and it is always busy at her tomb. There is always a lot of flowers and people. There is generally pilgrimage to her tomb from all over Argentina. She is kind of a saint for Argentinian people, for the common Argentinian people. And why is it the case? Because she was the one in 1940s who introduced the social services for the poor. She was always for distribution of the wealth to the poor people, for equality, also not only like equality before the law, for social equality, so everybody should get the same more or less, and the rich should give to the poor, and so on. Also equality of sexes, which is of course good, and so on. But you need to know that back until 1940s, middle of 1940s, in the first middle of 20th century, Argentina was one of the richest countries in the world. In 1913, so before the Great Wars, before the First and Second World War, Argentina, even then, Argentina had more GPD and also GPD per capita than France, Italy, or Germany. And it was in the top 5 or top 10 of the most wealthy countries in the world. And what happened then? Then the Juan Peron and his wife Avita Maria Peron came to power, and they introduced Peronism. It is a kind of populism which had fascistoid characteristics, but we will not get into politics. We'll talk only about economy. So Evita introduced social services and so on, and different equalities. So it increased the spending of the state a lot, increased distribution, and for the distribution and for the just distribution, they needed, of course, a lot of bureaucrats and so on. So introduced larger and larger state apparatus. And of course, they started also to control the economy, to regulate the economy. So like in every socialist regime, they started to influence, give subsidies, and also regulate certain behaviors, reward certain behaviors, also by preferential exchange rates. And if you introduce preferential exchange rates, then you need to start introducing capital controls, limiting or controlling the capital flows into the country and out of the country. And after 70 years of Peronism, more or less, almost 70 years of Peronism, or almost 80 years of Peronism with short breaks, this country reached a state. There were almost no capital flows of private people into the country or outside the country, because it was nearly impossible to to transfer money to a private account or out of the country. And also for companies, it was extremely difficult because you needed licenses, you needed permissions. It took months and months to do a simple trade outside the country, to do imports and so on and so on. Of course, it had some positive impacts, so they developed internal economy, so they are more or less self-sustainable, almost self-sustainable, at least in respect to food. But of course, the negative effects are extreme. And now we'll focus only on one industry in order to show to you how it worked, what has been done recently to heal the economy, this one industry. So we are talking about real estate and residential real estate. So because of the capital controls that they introduced, there was the banking system of Argentina couldn't work together with outside banking system, and also it was extremely difficult for Western banks with capital to come into Argentina and start credit action, give credits to people. So people didn't get credits, didn't get loans to buy property. On the other hand, also external investors, outsiders, foreign investors couldn't invest in real estate in Argentina. So the effect was much less capital on the market, meant there was almost no primary market for, let's say, regular residential buildings. So it didn't make sense for developers to build buildings, to build new units, new residential apartments, because nobody would buy them. Also, not the investors, internal investors from Argentina for rental as an investment, because due to over-regulation of the rental market, so the laws of the tenants were extremely strong. Meaning, if you got a tenant that he didn't pay and he devastated your apartment, you couldn't get rid of him. So it was extremely unprofitable and extremely risky to rent out the apartment you own. So many apartments were just empty, unrented, because people wouldn't take the risk to rent it out to somebody. And it means also, if there is no business in rentals, people don't buy apartments as an investment, means developers don't build apartments, not for the investors and not for the people who would buy it for themselves, because only millionaires, only people who could pay cash without a loan could buy an apartment. So only this sector developed. All the other apartments for normal people, people with jobs who would just take a loan and pay it off from the jobs or with the job income. They couldn't do that because they wouldn't get a loan, right? So there was no new developments, or a few new developments in these years, and on top of that, the apartments that would be available, they weren't available because people wouldn't take a risk to rent them out. So the consequence was there weren't enough apartments on the market to live in, and part of these apartments was empty. So the consequence was a lot of homeless people. People couldn't. So extremely high rents also, because if I take the risk to rent it out, I want to get rewarded properly. So extremely high rents, no rental space. So people couldn't afford to rent, couldn't afford to buy, or weren't able to buy. So a lot of homeless people. And on the other hand, empty apartments in the market. So this is actually you see the consequence of Peronism, of populism, or actually of social redistribution and state intervention in economy. You will end up with a perverse situation where normal people can't afford a place to live, and on the other hand, a lot of or some rentals stop, no development action, no new development apartments coming onto the market, and some apartments, or those apartments that were on the market, were empty and not rented. So now we have a new president here in Argentina, Javier Milei, a libertarian guy who said, I will just remove all the regulation, everything is allowed, what is not prohibited. So he, for example, removed most of the ministries here. He fired at first 50,000 bureaucrats, then he's firing now 70,000 more bureaucrats. So he is shrinking the state and lowering the state spending. So after only 2 months, he managed to come from. By the way, you had a hyperinflation here, or you still have a very high inflation here in Argentina, and of course state debt crisis. So he managed in 2 months only to balance to balance the spending within the income of the state. And what he did in this one particular industry, of course, he did a lot of regulation. He's still doing that. But in this one particular example of rental market, of residential real estate, what he did was he said he removed all the regulations. He said it is up to the parties who sign the contract, what they put into the contract, into the rental contract, whatever they put into the rental contract is valid. And what was the consequence? Suddenly, he removed all the risks for the landowners. So the landowners put the empty apartments on the rental market. Within very short time, within few days, the number of apartments here in Buenos Aires for rental doubled, and the prices of the apartments fell by 20%. Now you see, with liberal politics, with deregulation, you can even in this bad situation solve a lot of problems. So first, there is much more apartments to rent, much more rental space. Second, they are more affordable. And what will also come, he wants also to, of course, remove all the capital controls on the capital restrictions. So with that, foreign banks will come into the country. They will issue loans to people with jobs who will be able to pay back the loans and secure it with the apartment. So this means it will make sense for developers to build apartments, and also capital from outside will flow in, and the local investors will also invest in apartments for rent. So this will be the second wave. A lot of new apartments will come to the market, will flood the market, and will solve this problem of living space for Argentinians. I hope you like this video. If yes, give me a thumb up. If not, thumb down. Subscribe if you haven't. Share this video with your loved ones, with your friends. I talk here a lot about economy, about money, about cryptocurrencies. I talk about how the best entrepreneurs, the billionaires of our times, think and act. So if you like this video, you will certainly like my other videos. I invite you to watch them. That's it for today from Recoleta in Buenos Aires. I wish you a fantastic day. Let's do something extraordinary today.